Assalamu alaikum, dear learners everywhere. I'm your teacher, Ghada Abdelrazak, Selfie Directorate. I teach in Derbalo Secondary Girls School. Dear students, I believe that you are strong enough to face all challenges. I count on you. Don't let us down. Okay? Assalamu alaikum. Today, inshallah ta'ala, we're going to identify how to form reported questions, how to report questions. Before we start, we should know that questions have two types. WH questions and yes-no questions. WH questions are also called information questions. Why? Because when we ask these questions, we need information. You have to give information to answer these questions. They are called WH questions because when we form them, we use either of these words: where, when, why, who, what, how, which, and whose. These are called WH words. Pay attention to the word how. It doesn't start with a W, but still it's a member of that family. Some examples of WH questions are, where do you live? Look at this question. It starts with the word where, and where is a WH word, so this question is called a WH question. Another example is, how many brothers does she have? How is a WH word, so this question is a WH question. Why should people read? Again, this question starts with why, and why is a WH word, so this question is a WH question. Okay? Look at this question. What type of questions is it? Ahsantum. It is a WH question. When did your father retire? It starts with the word when. And when is a WH word, so the question is a WH question. Look here. When is the WH word, and did here is an auxiliary verb or helping verb. Your father is the subject of this question, and retire is the main verb. So this is how this WH question is formed. Okay, here you can see that when is the WH word, did is the auxiliary verb or the helping verb, your father is the subject, and retire is the main verb. This is called a direct WH question. Remember, it is called a direct WH question. The second type of questions is yes-no questions. We can form these questions by using either of these verbs. Number one, the verb to be, either is, are, am, was, and were. For example, are you happy? Look at this question. It starts with the auxiliary verb are. It is the verb to be are. So it is a yes-no question. When you want to answer this question, you can say either yes or no. For example, yes, I am happy, or no, I am not happy. Also, you can form yes-no questions using verb to do, does, and did. Did you study abroad? Look at this question. It starts with the auxiliary verb did, and did here, it is a verb to do. Okay? Did you study abroad? The answer is yes, I did, or no, I didn't. So it is a yes-no question. Also, you can form the yes-no questions using verb to have, has, or had. For example, have the boys prepared well? The answer will be either yes, they have, or no, they haven't. Also, you can form yes-no question using a modal verb. For example, will, shall, can, may, etc. For example, can dogs swim? The answer here is no. So this is again a yes-no question. What type of questions is this? Read it. Does she have a laptop? Does she have a laptop? What kind of questions is it? Well done. It's a yes-no question. Why? Because it starts with does, and does is used to form a yes-no question. Does she have a laptop? Does here is the auxiliary verb we use to form this question. She is the subject. Have here is the main verb. We call this form a direct yes-no question. Remember it, a direct yes-no question. How to form or how to report these questions? I want you now to hold your pens. You are going to write notes. Pay attention to three things. Number one, the order of the subject and the verb in the direct and the reported questions. Pay attention. the order of the subject and the verb. Which one comes first, the subject or the verb? Number 2, the tense of the verb in each question. Number 3, the punctuation mark at the end of each question. Pay attention to the order. Which one comes first, the subject or the verb? Number 2, the tense of the verb in each question. And number 3, the punctuation mark at the end of each question. Ready? Let's go. Example number 1. Where have you been? Where have you been? As you know, this question starts with where. So it is a, well done, it is a WH question. We call it a direct WH question. Look how it changes into a reported WH question. I asked her where she had been. I asked her where she had been. Where have you been? I asked her where she had been. Pay attention to the order of the subject and the verb. Pay attention to the tense of the verb, and also pay attention to the punctuation mark at the end of each question. Example number 2. What languages do you speak? What languages do you speak? This is a WH question. Sentence. She asked me what languages I spoke. She asked me what languages I spoke. Do you speak? I spoke. Okay? Again, this question. What was the problem with your phone? It is also a WH question. It is direct. Okay? She asked me what the problem with my phone had been. She asked me what the problem with my phone had been. She asked here, she asked me, it is a starter. What do we mean by starter? When we say starter, it is the verb that we use to start our reported question. It should be in a past tense. Remember that. Okay? And then she asked me, this is the starter. What here is the WH word. She asked me what the phone, what the problem. The problem here is the subject, and had been here is the verb. It is, pay attention, it is in the past perfect. The main or the original question was, what was the problem with your phone? Okay. The reported question, she asked me what the problem with my phone had been. Pay attention to the subject, verb, and the tense of the verb, and pay attention also to the punctuation mark at the end of each question. Okay? Look at this example. Read the question. Is my drawing beautiful? What kind of a question is it? Well done. It is a yes/no question. You can see it starts with the auxiliary verb is. Look at the reported question here. He asked us if or whether his drawing was beautiful. He asked us if or whether his drawing was beautiful. This is the reported question. Did the train arrive early? Again, what type of question is this? It is a yes/no question. Okay. She wanted to know if or whether the train had arrived early. She wanted to know if or whether the train had arrived early. Look here, this Vaya. Okay. She wanted to know is the starter. Again, the starter is a verb we use in order to introduce our reported question. It can be wanted. For example, she wanted to know, she wondered, they asked us or they asked me. Okay, and it should be in the past form. She wanted to know, it is the starter, if or whether. Okay, and the train here is the subject, and had arrived is the verb, and pay attention, it is in the past perfect. The original question, did the train arrive early? The tense of the question is past. Very well. Very good. Okay, and did here, it shows us that the sentence or the question is in the past form. We change the verb here into past perfect of the main verb arrive. did the train arrive, it became, she wanted to know if or whether the train had arrived. Okay, let's see what you have noticed about these examples. What about the word order in these questions, whether direct or reported? Did you notice that in the direct questions, the verb became or comes, the verb comes before the subject? For example, where do you live? Where do you live? Look at the verb do. It precedes the subject you. Where do you live? Is she happy? In this direct question, yes no question, is here precedes the subject. Is comes before the subject. Look at the reported questions. If you noticed, in these reported questions, the subject precedes the verb, or the subject comes before the verb. For example, where do you live? She asked her where he lived, where she lived. He wondered if she was happy. Is she happy? He wondered if she was happy. Okay, here, is she? It became she was. Okay? Next, what about the verb tenses in each question? In the direct questions, maybe you notice that the present simple is, are, am. It changes into past simple in the reported questions. For example, is, are, am, they are changed into was or were. The past simple in the direct question, it changes into past perfect. For example, was or were, you should change it into had been. The present perfect, has or have been, for example, it should be changed into had been, a past perfect. Past perfect remains past perfect. Some models like will, it becomes would, must, and it should be changed into had to because the past form of must is had to. Can, it should change into could. Some expressions like did or didn't speak, for example. Did you speak or I didn't speak? Here you should change the verb into had or hadn't spoken. You change the past into past perfect. Okay, what about the punctuation mark at the end of each question? Maybe you notice that at the end of the directed question there is a question mark, but at the end of the reported question we have a full stop. Okay? Let's practice now. The first question is, where do you live? Where do you live? Again, this is a WH question. We started it with a starter. She asked, Maha. I start with the WH word. Where? She asked Maha, where? This is the WH word. And here, look here. Do you. This is the subject. Sorry, this is the verb, the auxiliary verb, and this is the subject. I start my sentence or my question with the subject, where. I'm talking here about Maha. So you here, it should suit Maha, where she. The verb here, look at the verb do here, it is in the present form, so I change the main verb into past simple. She asked Maha where she lived. And instead of the question mark, I put a full stop. Again, where do you live? She asked Maha where, this is the WH word, okay, where she, because I'm talking about Maha. She asked Maha where she, and here we have do. The verb here is in the present form. I change the main verb into past simple. She asked Maha where she lived. Now, let's practice. Read question number 1. What are you doing there? What type of question is it? It is a WH question. Good. My mother asked me. This is a starter. My mother asked me. What? This is the WH word. My mother asked me what? Are doing is the verb. You is the subject. I start with the subject. My mother asked me what? Because it is me, I change you into I. My mother asked me what? I. The verb is are doing. Do you remember that we changed the present continuous into the past continuous? We changed the present into the past. So, I changed are into where. This is the past form of are. But when I want to put where here, my mother asked me what because I have I changed from where into its sister. He was. My mother asked me what I was doing there. And instead of the question mark here, I use a full stop. Clear? Okay, a second example. How is your sister? How is your sister? This is a WH question. The starter is they asked him. Okay? I start my reported question with the WH word. They asked him. How? After the WH word, I use the subject. The subject is your sister. But here again, they asked him. So I change your sister into his sister. They asked him how his sister. Look at the verb. The verb is, it is. Okay? I change from is into أحسنتم, was. They asked him how his sister was. Again, instead of the question mark, I use a full stop. Number 3. What was your favorite school subject? My friend asked me. Again, this is a WH question. I start with the WH word. What? Again, here we have me. So, I use the subject here. Your favorite school subject. I change it into my favorite school subject. My friend asked me what my favorite school subject. Okay, the verb here is was. Do you remember what we said about how to change the past tense? Was here is past. I should change it into past perfect. أحسنتم. And the past perfect was, is, had, been. Well done. Okay. The fourth example, where do you live? Where do you live? Okay. She asked Maha, where? It's familiar with you now that we use the WH word immediately after the starter. She asked Maha where. I'm talking about Maha. The subject here is you. I change it into she. Where she. What is the verb here? Do, live. Look here, we have the auxiliary verb to, and we have the main verb live. In this type of questions, we don't use do. Okay, we delete it, and we change the main verb into past tense. Then she asked Maha where she lived. Pay attention. We don't use do. We change the main verb into the past simple. Number 5. Did you visit Jerusalem? I asked Ali, because this is a yes/no question. I asked Ali, I immediately use the word if or whether. I asked Ali if or whether. I'm talking about Ali. So you hear the subject. It changes into he. If he. Look at the verb. Did you visit? Did visit. Again. Did here, it shows us that the subject, it shows us that the question here is in the past form. I delete did and I change the main verb here into past perfect sentence because it is a past simple. And the past perfect of visit is had visited. Then I asked Ali if or whether he had visited Jerusalem. Okay, clear? Remember, dear students, that reported questions are no longer questions. They are telling people about the question. So, use the sentence order subject plus verb, not verb plus subject. Change the verb, pack shifting. The present becomes past and the past becomes past perfect. The pronouns depend on the context. What I mean by the context here, it depends on who is asking. Who is asking and who is he asking? Number 4, use a full stop instead of a question mark at the end of the question. When you report WH questions, use a starter, use the WH word, the subject, and the verb. Don't forget to change the tense of the verb. When you report yes/no questions, use a starter, use if or whether, plus the subject, plus verb. Again, don't forget to change the tense of the verb. Now, let's look at this exercise. Report the following questions. What time do students have breakfast? What time do students have breakfast? This is a WH question. When we report it, she asked what time students had breakfast. Here we have the auxiliary do. You delete it and you change the main verb into the past form. Have is changed into had. Why must students wear a uniform? Again, this is a WH question. People asked why students had to wear a uniform. Here, had to is the past tense of must, and the subject comes before the verb. Does she prefer reading to writing? This is a yes/no question. Her teachers wanted to know if or whether she preferred reading to writing. Thus here, you delete it and you change the main verb into the past perfect and into the past, and the past of prefer is preferred. Okay, now, did you study well? My mother wondered. I want you to write down how to report this question. When will they leave the station? Again, this is a WH question. I want you also to report this question. And the last question here, is she planning to travel abroad? I want you also to write down how to report these questions. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time, inshallah ta'ala.